My name is Kevin Kadiari. So today I'm glad that I'll share my testimony. I hope that this testimony shall bless you of how Jesus saved me from sexual immorality, and I hope that this shall encourage you, whoever is listening, that nothing is impossible for the Lord. The Lord saves all from addictions, from all sins, and because we are all sinners. And I hope that whoever you see, whoever you know that is struggling from pornography, masturbation, alcohol, and all that, you can share this video with him or her, so that they can be revealed through this truth that I've come to discover. So to start with, my my journey started in 2010, whereby in school I was exposed to, we were taught about the sexuality, the basic, sexuality of the both genders, and that's when I became curious of, I just wanted to know more about it, and I just happened to have, I was exposed to pornographic materials through a phone from a relative, and that's when I became attracted to it. I didn't understand what was happening at first, but that's when I started, to come to realize of what I saw. And to my surprise, my friends also were exposed to it, and we started talking about it in class. It was in primary, and people were coming to realize of themselves. And so it came to a point whereby, I was still exposed to, the music, but I didn't understand the hip hop music then. I didn't understand some of the things then. But all this came clear when I went to high school, whereby there were funkies, there were entertainment, and all that. And this became the new life that I was being exposed to, whereby having a girlfriend is not an issue, whereby making out with them is not an issue, and listening to this music, one of the things of this music is that their video content is very filthy. It's filled with naked women, it's filled with these filthy things, and we were used to watch them, we were used to hear them during entertainment, and I saw that this is the new life that we are being exposed to, and I saw that this is normal and there is nothing bad in it. And I convinced myself that if this is the life that people are living, then it will be difficult for me to live the life that I saw was right, and that was the life that God had prepared for me. So at that time I used to attend CU meetings, but then I just kind of did not, I was not just, let's say I was not convicted, by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, I did not have the Holy Spirit then to guide me, to give me the strength to overcome them. But then I became submitted to the things of the world, which were those music, just living the life that other people are having. And in form 2, it's when it became very intense, and that's when I ventured more into pornography. And because I will see other people doing it, and I was having these feelings of doing it still. So I wanted to experiment of this life, because other people are doing it. So I will be a total this person who doesn't know all these things, and I'm in high school and all that. I saw myself that when I don't do these things, I'll be cut off from them, and that's when I ventured into it, and I became addicted. In the previous, when I was in primary, I was not addicted. I just used to know about them, but I was not addicted the way I was addicted when I came to high school. and I became very much addicted, so that it came to a point whereby I used to, make friends with the opposite sex and, try these things with them. And I found that these things were pleasurable, but what came out of them is what was not pleasing. I used to have this guilt, I used to have this shame, and these things used to consume me from the inside. And I used to view myself lowly, I just didn't think highly of myself, and I became submitted to it. And one thing about it is that I convinced myself that I'll come out of it, and I gave myself that big up. But I waited for that time and it never came. And that's when in Form 3, it's when I decided to cut off from the, being active in the CU because of hypocrisy. One thing I hated is hypocrisy. I didn't want to be seen on this side and seen on the other side, so I decided to cut off the, being active as a CU member. I just went on Sundays. All the other meetings I just didn't want to go because I didn't feel the urge to go. I didn't know why other people are praying. I was just not understanding some of the things, and I wanted to prove myself to other people that I also can do these things. And by doing that is when I did a very big mistake, and when I became addicted, it became so intense that I started even masturbating, because when you do it, you want more and more, you want to satisfy the body more and more. So I started masturbating, and after masturbating, I will feel this guilt. The same results will happen each and every time after doing these things. There was nothing that will come good out of it, and it felt pleasurable at first, but then it came and haunted me, and all the time I submitted to it until it came through Form 4, whereby I used to convince myself that I'm not I'll come out of it one day, but it never came. And in Form 4 I remember that I was much into science. I was much into knowing how the earth works and all that, because you were taught of these great theories by great scientists, and this kind of made me curious. And I remember that in high school I used to attend this science congress, this competition, and in Form 2, Form 3 I didn't succeed, but in Form 4 is when I succeeded, and that's when I came to learn of these famous scientists like Albert Einstein, Max Planck and all that, and this about these radiations and that. And that's when I wanted to know more, and that's when I came to know that my desire is to know about these things, and I wanted to become a scientist. Those became intense, so that I didn't even have the psyche of reading for the national exams, and I would go to the library and read about those scientists. I read about their lives, and one thing I learned from them is that these people didn't live a normal life like the way people do. Let's say they marry, and they are so consumed with science, so that they leave their children, they leave their wives, they become mad and all that. And this is all I wanted. I just wanted not to be normal. I wanted to be different. To have this different mind, which is apart from everyone else. To escape from reality, because in real sense, life was filled with pain, guilt, suffering, and all that. But I wanted something that would get me away from all that, and I thought that science would be the answer. And I remember that that same year I went to nationals, and I succeeded. And this became a cover-up of the life that I had from the inside. I used to, suffer from that addiction. I used to masturbate. I used to watch pornography each and every time. When I get home, my life will become miserable. I will do these things, but then I will cover up by saying, science and all that. But and that came to me with some of the questions. Is life all? Is this all about life? Is all this that I see, that happens, is because I will see that one will go to school, go to high school, then after that you go to campus. After going to campus, you get a good job. After getting a good job, you marry, have kids, get old, then die. And I saw that, this life, which, I saw that there is nothing useful to do. And I just thought, there's something that is missing. There's something that needs to happen, that is missing, because if this is all about life, then I don't see any sense out of it. And that's when I started, asking, these questions. And then it went that way. Then after that, I finished high school. Then after finishing high school, it's when now I was thrilled. Now I was free from the examinations of the KCSE and all that. And I now just decided to seek truth. And I thank God that I passed and I had the grace to go to campus. And then after that, I remember that I was free. And then I realized that, so as to have this happy life, you need to have money. So I remember that I had this obsession of becoming rich. So I started researching about the stock market. I started researching about investments, investing in real estate and all that. And then I remember even one time I went to a circle and asked them about some of the lands they are selling. I had this obsession, because without money, you can't be happy. You can't have these girls. You can't get this happiness that comes out of life. And now this became a delusion in my mind. And so still in that state, I was, the previous mind of pursuing truth, diminished a little bit, but then the obsession of becoming rich came. And now after that, I remember one thing led to another. The addiction was still there, and I remember it led forth to fornication. I started fornicating the same year, and that was before even I went to campus. Then after joining campus, I remember now this was another environment that I had to survey, and I saw that this was normal. This was almost equal to that of high school. The only difference is that the female gender and the male gender, they were all in the same place, and the story was still the same about relationships and all that. And this I had no big deal about it, but I still was into the addiction and also fornication. And after that, the year ended. Then in 2018, I decided to start afresh, and I wanted to to let go of the addiction. And I had made resolutions that I'll not masturbate, I'll not watch pornography. And I decided that the only way for me to get out of this is to be in a relationship. So I had this friend who were friends for a long time. We decided to be in a relationship, but the relationship was not the one that we were in school, but it was a distant relationship whereby I will be in school and she'll be at home, but we'll still chat, sometimes chat till late hours. But I remember that I made these resolutions, and I tried to Google, how to live, how to stop this, because the the urgings were so strong, and I used to feel aroused most of the time, and my will did not align with the will of the sin, which was to submit. And I remember that I still submitted. However hard I tried, I still submitted, and still the relationship was just awkward, and things went by. It went for 8 months. Then after that we broke up. I remember it was the lowest point of my life whereby I felt very low, I felt very bad because my heart was broken and all that. I had ventured into something that I had not expected, this kind of thing, and that was life exposing itself unto me. And that's when everything started, everything started recurring in my mind. And even during that period, I was still seeking the truth. I was still seeking, about science a little bit, not that much, but a little bit. And one day the evidence came to me that everything was against me. My addiction was against me, my immorality was against me, the facts that I had on science, some of them were against me. And I saw that, I've always been running away from God. I have always been having this cold heart. Even I remember sometimes I used to, I didn't used to go to church. I saw that, church, you just go, the common things. And my heart was very cold, was very hardened. And then I was still in the addiction. I was just, and I remember after the after the after having the lowest point of my life, I remember I ventured more. I had become even more addicted, and I became a slave, a total slave, until in 2019 I just became fed up with all of that. I just became fed up, and I wanted to leave all of that. I just wanted to seek a way out because I was feeling very miserable. I remember that time I had this roommate who was a Christian, and he was a born again Christian, and I used to survey his life. He used to go to church meetings, come back, sleep and all that, and I did not, the things that I was struggling from, I did not see him struggling with. And I started to like this life that he was living. And that's when I decided now to discern about myself, to think about my life and all that. And that's when I said, what if, I asked myself, what if I give myself to Christ? What if I just became a born again Christian? And I remember that he used to tell me to go to the fellowships, and sometimes I'll go because he told me to go. Sometimes I would just go for the sake of going, because I did not know the true meaning of going to church. And at that time, it was when I just wanted now to search myself. I remember I used to go to the library a lot to read and all that, but still it did not drive away the misery, did not drive away the emptiness inside me. And that's the thing with these addictions. One thing goes to another. You satisfy your flesh, you satisfy your flesh, you satisfy your flesh, and then it comes to this point whereby it comes against you. Everything that you thought that you wanted, it becomes an enemy, and you become totally empty. Your self-esteem becomes very low. What you perceived before is not what you now understand. And now that's when I decided now to sell my phone and all that. But still, even after selling my phone and buying a kabambe, still didn't help. And that's when a friend, the roommate I'm talking about is called James, and his friend, who's known as Charles, came to visit him one day. I was just lying on the bed and I was hearing what they were talking about. And then he asked me if I am a born-again Christian, and I said no. And he asked me whether I'd like to be a born-again Christian. And that's when I said, no, let me think about it, and I borrowed his number. Then after 2 days, I just thought about it. Then I decided that this might be the best decision that I could be making. And then I decided to become a born-again Christian. I decided that I want to become a born-again Christian, and that's when I became saved. I remember I even opened up to my mom, and that's the time that I felt something that I've never felt before. There was this conviction inside me. I felt happy. I felt very relieved while still crying. And It's something that I've never felt before, and it was the first time that my mom saw me crying and all that, because she was surprised that I was not a born again Christian still. She was surprised that the life that I had been living was a total lie, because on the outside people see the humble person, people see the meek person, the intelligent person and all that, but on the inside you don't see the emptiness, you don't see the crumbling of the heart, you don't see, someone who is dying from the inside. Because one thing about this is that it brings misery, and what it wants from us is for us to give up and to commit suicide, and to see that there's no meaning in this life, and most of all not to know Christ. And after that, after becoming a born again Christian, is when I was still, I thought that all this will not come by these temptations of lust, these temptations, of, watching pornography, and temptations of masturbating. And that's when I realized that, they will not go away, they will just come to haunt me. And what saved me, I remember what saved me is faith in Jesus Christ, because he died on the cross for me, and he died so that I might be saved. He died so that everything that has been holding me captive, I could be released from all that. And I held on to that faith. I remember sometimes I would, I had the habit of waking up at 2, 1, 12 when other people are sleeping. Then I will do those filthy things. But after, receiving Christ, I will wake up, but still I will not, I will not submit. I will pray to God that, He shall strengthen me through this part of life, because I've just accepted Christ. I am new to Christ, and I saw that this is the only way that this is the only way that I can only be saved. This is the only way that, I can have, this chance of living a good life after that. And that's after that, I remember I submitted one time. I had been overwhelmed, but after that I felt this guilt, this shame that I've never had before. And that's when I decided completely, to hold on, to have this faith. Jesus had already, had already died for me, and His grace is sufficient upon me. And after that, I remember I gave myself 3 months, but within the first month I was free. I had not submitted, I had not, done all those filthy things, and it went on. And now it's one year and 2 months, and I am free from all that. And I thank Jesus Christ for saving me. His grace is what I rejoice today. His grace is what I testify unto you who are going through this addiction. And one thing about this society is that this society is teaching us different kind, the movies, the songs, the actors, the role models and all that. They are teaching us that, so as to succeed in this life, you must be rich, you must have these girls, you must have, a sexy partner, you must have, all these. And this is the culture that we have been raised upon. And it's very difficult for one, to know about Christ in such a culture, because all there is, even in the social media, everywhere that we go, we see all these. But these do not give out the true meaning of life. These do not, show you the true picture, because we are just here to pass by. And I am even sure that even today, even if I die, I shall be a co-heir with Christ, because He saved me. And that is what I hope for. And one thing is that being a born again Christian, after accepting Christ, you begin to have this peace. You begin to have, to know the truth. I decided to study the Bible. I decided to read these books and see where the problem is. And I saw that the problem is that Satan has blinded our minds. He has told us that this is the only way that you can be happy. This is the only way for one to live. Even the society has made that, and it has shown us that, to live you must have this. But then, when you live that way, the sin accompanies you. The sin follows you till the end, and it wants you to die. It wants you to perish. and it wants you to have this fear all the time, miserableness, emptiness. And this is something that I want people to be saved from. I want people to accept this Christ, because pornography and masturbation and sex, they have not solved the problem. They are not, they do not satisfy. They just satisfy for certain minutes. Just satisfy for a certain time, but then after that you just go back to the same state, and then your body needs more. Your body wants to satisfy itself. That's the same with alcohol, that's the same with bang, and all these addictions, they are all related. And I thank God that I did not venture into drugs, and I even pray even for those who are addicted, that they shall also be saved. Even you that is hearing me, if you know anyone that is going through all these, the only answer is through Jesus Christ. And this is the life that I have decided to pursue. I have decided to go through, because this is the only way that we shall all be saved. I even one day, I even imagined, I even brought all these constraints. What if there was no Jesus Christ? What if Jesus Christ was not there? There are these atheists and all that. And I saw that there's no hope. Without Jesus Christ, there's no hope. The same way that I had no hope for life, the same way that I had no meaning. And those were some of the consequences of the addiction that I was in. And that is the same thing that even the youth of this time are going through. These people want to look good on the outside, but on the inside is totally different. So I pray that I thank God. I pray each and every time. I thank Him for saving me. I thank Him even for others who are still being saved, because many people are coming to know Christ. And I hope that you too, who you are not saved, shall come to accept Christ as your personal Savior. Because I had done everything. I had ran away from Him. I had done everything so that I could not be in contact with Him. But then His love saved me. He saved my emptiness. He saved my miserableness, the sin that I had caused. Because I am a sinner, you are a sinner, and the only way that we shall be saved is through accepting Christ as our personal Savior. Amen. Amen.